He was like, oh, we had to push you back.
I feel really, really bad about that to this day.
Which I think was like crushing to you.
It was soul crushing. What's going on, guys? My name is Sam.
I'm Sadie.
And in today's video, we are going to go a little bit more in depth about how we met and exactly how that like first date and first meeting each other in the Atlanta airport and going and hanging out with our family in Alabama, how all that different stuff went down. So you guys are in for a real treat today.
It was December 2021 and I was at one of my best friend's houses. I think we were watching like American Gospel that night, and we were both single at the time, and her and her sister were trying to talk me into downloading a dating app because I hadn't dated in years, and I just told them absolutely not, like I don't want to do that. It just made me super nervous, and they were just telling me download the dating app, download the dating app. And me and my friend at the time, we like made a pact, like, okay, well, if we don't have boyfriends by like next summer, we're gonna download a dating app. We're both in relationships now, married, she's in a relationship. But I went home that night and I looked up on YouTube, should Christians use dating apps? And then Sam's video, because Sam had an individual channel at the time, Sam's video popped up. But fun fact to that, I had searched something on YouTube the year before, like literally 1 year before, and he was in a relationship at the time. And so at the time I was like, ew. I'm not even like gonna look at this guy's like YouTube. I'm not gonna subscribe to him. I don't know why. I think it was just like the Lord, like, I don't know, I was just very uninterested.
You were like, that's my husband and this is not right.
Yeah, ew. So I just literally, you know, put it aside for a year. Didn't think about him for the whole year. Because, I mean, you were just some random YouTube guy. And so a year later, I found his YouTube channel and I was like clicking around and I just saw, oh, okay, he's not in a relationship. Let's maybe follow him on Instagram the next day, because I had got back from my best friend's house at like 12 o'clock that night, like some late time. And I just told myself, like, it'd be too creepy to follow him tonight. Just pray about it. See if you want to follow him in the morning. So then I woke up the next morning and I knew it was my mission to follow him. Like, it was so weird. Like, I woke up and I was like, follow Sam on Instagram. So I followed him, then turned my phone off and was like, you know, if he follows me, yay. If he doesn't, woohoo. Like, who cares, you know? And I was babysitting my little cousin that day. I think she was 4 at the time. And I was getting my school stuff ready for the new semester of college, and I see on my phone probably an hour later, maybe less than an hour later, and Sam had actually followed me and then reached out to me on Instagram. And like, he sent me a message that said something like, hey, I've been looking at your Instagram and I just wanted to let you know that your faith inspires me. And I thought that was really sweet, because I was not expecting him to, like, 1, follow me back, but 2, like, reach out to me, because I was always like the girl that was like bridesmaid, never the bride. I felt like I was always gonna be like that. So you tell your perspective now that we're like into the day where you followed me, you saw my Instagram. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, first thing that I was gonna say is that it blows my mind, like, if I really truly think about the way that we met, like, even just thinking, if you had not made it your mission to follow me, because like we
would have never ever met.
Yeah, I mean, we never would have, you know, our paths never would have crossed. Like, if you had just been like, well, I mean, he's a YouTube guy, like, what are the chances that like he would ever see anything like of mine or follow me back or whatever, if you had just said whatever, like, we never would have met, we never would have gotten married. So like, if that's a sign for you guys to like take that chance, like ask that girl out or make yourself available to that guy, you know, like, you never know what's gonna happen. So that was the main thing that was going through my mind. But just
fun fact, didn't mean to interrupt, just wanted to give context. He was playing basketball in Cleveland, Ohio. I was in Alabama, so we were literally like country
really
away
far apart
from each other, like
Yeah.
a long, far way away.
I remember waking up in my place in Cleveland, and I remember looking down at my phone and seeing that someone named Sadie Graham followed me on Instagram, and I just remembered thinking that that's such a pretty name. I love the name Sadie, and so when I saw that name, I was like, I bet that's a really pretty girl. Like, I remember that being just in my mind. So when I clicked on the notification, or when I tapped the notification, I just remembered seeing her Instagram page and just seeing her smile and everything. And her smile was just like, I just felt like electricity like go through my body. And like, I'd never had that feeling before. And so I just feel like now that was like God saying, boom, like there it is. Like that's who I have for you. Like that's who I'm sending to you. And so I just felt like, I just remembered like telling my family and everything, like I'm really like thinking I'm gonna send a message to this girl and like, talk to her and everything. And I did. And I told her like she said, like that I admired her faith. We had a long conversation about just, everything faith and doctrine and theology and politics and everything. Like I really, I put her through the ringer because I was not playing around. Like, someone that showed that kind of faith that was, that was and is as beautiful as she is. Like, I was really excited, and I might have kind of, even been a little too forward maybe in some ways, but I think that it all obviously worked out, so I have zero regret.
Yeah, I remember at the time, me and my sister and then some of our other friends who were like our sisters, we would all go out to Mexican every single Sunday. And so that particular week I went to Mexican with them because like we always did, and we were sitting in our car and I was like, so I've been talking to this guy. And they, of course, all freak out. And then I just said, we've only been talking for a couple days, like it's no big deal. But then they for some reason, they were like, Sadie, this is the guy. I just know it. This is the guy you're gonna marry. They'd never spoken to Sam. Like we had talked for just a couple days and they were like, this is it. I know this is it. Like they were so pumped. And I was like, what in the world? And I remember like being at a basketball game, and of course I have like my friends around me and they're like helping me type out messages. Like, don't say this, it's too forward, or you should say this. I remember one of them telling me like, send a winky face to him. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I don't want to like flirt or anything. It's just so funny looking back on that story because it was just the way that it unfolded was like so fun. Mm-hmm. But so we talk for a few days. You schedule a Bible study with us and just, explain that.
Yeah, so we had a FaceTime Bible study. The first one went really well. I, prayed for her and her family, I think maybe even twice.
Yeah, because I told my mom, I ran into our living room after I got off the phone with you. And I was like, he prayed for me 2 times. Like 2 times. He prays for you 2 times. He's such a nice guy. Like, and I just remember telling her like, I'm in trouble. Like, I'm in trouble for sure with this one.
Yeah, and I mean, I felt obviously the same way because the next time that I ended up scheduling another, Bible study with her. Scheduling, I don't know why I'm saying that, but we set up another FaceTime Bible study. And I remember at the beginning of that call, I was like, hey, just kind of before we, continue on, like, I just kind of want to let you know that I look at you at like
more than a Bible study.
Yeah, I look at you as more than like just a Bible study buddy, basically. Like I like you, like I'm interested in you. And I remember her giving like the most Sadie response ever. She was just like, I think we're on the same page. And I just remembered being like, wow. I was kind of like, because I hoped at that moment that I didn't like freak her out and make her feel like pressured into saying that. Because like, I assumed like, if she wasn't really interested in that she probably would have given a similar kind of answer. But she was just a little bit shy, and I know that she was interested in everything, obviously.
Fun fact, the first time we were supposed to FaceTime, Sam pushed it off because he was watching a football game. And so he pushed it back, and I was dying of nerves.
Yeah, I feel horrible about doing that because I didn't realize just how like nervous she was about it.
I was like sitting on my bed like...
Well, I kind of like, I had told her, I thought that I had communicated kind of like what I was waiting on or whatever, because I thought it was just like I was trying to be cool, I wasn't trying to be like, oh, well, we need to just do this like as soon as possible. Like I didn't want to come across as like desperate or like I need this or like something like that.
I understand that.
But I felt horrible because I heard later on that she was just an absolute nervous wreck.
I know. I think I left Granddaddy's house early that day to make sure I was home in time so I could be prepared, fix up my makeup, fix my hair. I was like really prepared for this, and he was like, oh, we had to push you back.
I feel really, really bad about that to this day.
I know, it's so funny. I like giving you grief about that.
But
okay, so in the story, so we started talking. We didn't meet in person for 3 months. So we were getting to know each other, FaceTiming like every single day, just being really intentional about getting to know each other. And we scheduled a time to finally meet in person.
Yeah, so we scheduled a time to finally meet in person because my basketball season had finally ended. And I was going to actually fly for the very first time all by myself to come and see her and her family. And somehow she got everyone's go ahead to go meet me at the airport all by herself in Atlanta. I don't really know who I'm making this video for, but I'm just about to go to the airport to meet Sadie for the very first time, and I'm going to be documenting it a little bit as I go. So I'm very, very excited. We've been talking for 2 months at this point, because I know that we met January 3rd on Instagram of all places. But this is going to be our very first time seeing each other, so we are very, very excited. I'm going to get an early start, go to the airport, figure everything out, because this is my first time flying on my own. So we're going to see how that goes, but I will keep whoever's watching this posted. Which was, what, like 2 hours away from
like
where you're at?
2.5 hour drive. And I drove it after taking like 2 accounting exams that day. So I finished up at school, was so nervous about my exams, and then it was boom, off to the airport to go meet Sam, which I look back now, knowing like how scary our world is, he could have easily just been bamboozling trying to like trick me and then like take me. I don't know. It could have ended up terribly if I didn't have like discernment and like was super observant about people. But yeah, I had 2 accounting exams the day we were supposed to meet. I had convinced my whole family, like grandparents, aunts, uncles, everybody, I'm just gonna go by myself. I think that it's the best thing for us to meet by ourselves. Like I drive really safe, there's nothing to worry about, and some of them are probably still disappointed in me that I chose to go by myself. I remember my friends from school were texting me like, let me know if you're okay, like tell me if this is good or whatever, which was really sweet of them. But I drive to the airport, and it is the literal like busiest airport in the whole country. It is terrible, okay? But I drive it by myself, pull up to the airport. Sam's so tall, so I see this huge 6'7" head, and I pull up. And you imagine when you're at the airport, you imagine this like you run towards each other and you grab each other in your arms or whatever. But it was so chaotic. I remember seeing Sam, and of course I was nervous and awkward. But I rolled the window down and I was like, get in the car.
I wanted a hug so badly, but she's just like, get in the car. Right now, we're going.
Yeah. So we did that. You can, say your perspective.
So on the ride back, I think that both of us were really nervous, and we were both in disbelief because we had been apart for so long. Like it felt like forever, like 3 months of us just talking over the phone. And so we're finally in the same vehicle together, literally feet apart from each other.
I felt so awkward.
I know that she did, and it killed me because I felt like so comfortable. I was like, I know this girl like so well.
Sam was doing impressions and like singing, and I was like, who is this fellow?
Yeah, and it was crazy because like, obviously, it's a fairy tale, like happily ever after kind of ending. But, at the time it was very stressful because I could tell, like, you know, on our drive back and everything, like, I could tell she was, like, kind of freaking out, like, oh my goodness, like, you know, do I actually know this person? And I remember when we actually got back to, you know, her house and everything, I remember the next day we decided.
It was my parents' house, by the way.
Huh?
It wasn't my house, my parents' house. So
Oh,
no
yeah,
context.
yeah. To her parents' house. I remember the next day we decided that we were going to go to the park. We were going to go for a walk, you know, do that kind of thing. And I just remembered, like, man, like, I just can't wait to, like, get to go walk with her, like, really get to know her, and, like, really, you know, just be there in person with her, like, even be able to hold her hand and put my arm around her, different things like that. And I remember us, like, walking and then sitting on this, like, little...
like a swing at the park.
Yeah, sitting on this little swing at the park. And I remember her, like, I had my arm around her, and I wanted to, like, even, like, record it because I wanted to just, like, document for our kids one day, you know? Like, this is the first time that Mom and Dad... we swang together on the swing. We did that, and I just remember her, like, looking over and being like, you know, I don't feel like we know each other. Like, you know, I don't feel like I know you, and different things like that.
Which I think was, like, crushing to you.
It was soul crushing to me. I was like, I was like, what the heck? But, you know, I know that it was a lot of change.
I was way overwhelmed, like, way overwhelmed. Because we had talked for 3 months and never met. And then I meet him, and then he asked me to be his girlfriend outside McDonald's. And then we get to my parents' house.
You always hit me with that.
And then we get to my parents' house, and then, like, the next day, I was, like, super overwhelmed. Like, oh my goodness, like, do I know this guy? Do we even know each other? Because we had only been, like, talking over a screen.
Yeah.
So it was very scary for me. But I think, like, when I look back on it, like, God paved the way for that whole week, because, like, all of my classes, I would have to go to class, like, 4 days a week. All of them, like, got canceled that week, and they never got canceled. So it was very bizarre, like, looking back, that, like, the Lord gave us that extra time to spend with each other, because I thought I was going to be gone for a while. But yeah, I was going through a lot of anxiety the week we met. Yeah.
How did you feel kind of like by midweek, kind of like by the end of the week? Like, did you feel like you calmed down a lot, or did you feel like you still had a lot of, you know, just concerns and fears and everything?
Yeah, I was just definitely really overwhelmed and, like, stressed at the situation. You were the opposite, because that goes back to our personalities. Was really quiet, and he's really forward, really outgoing. So I think his forwardness really freaks me out.
Yeah. Well, here's kind of a microcosm of that. So anytime we talk about going out to eat somewhere, Sadie is like, you know, oh my goodness, where should we go? What should I get on the menu? All of these different things. And then meanwhile, I could literally just pick a restaurant by throwing darts at a board blindfolded, and then go in and just order anything and just be happy. Like, I know what I want, like, and I go for it immediately. Sadie tends to really be an analytical, like, you know, thinker.
Is this the right decision? Is this the right decision about my food, about literally everything in my life?
Yeah.
Different personalities. So, I mean, I was overwhelmed a lot of the time. But, I mean, I had to put my, like, anxiety aside and just realize this is such a good guy. God put him in your life. The way y'all met is, like, incredible. So just understand that God opened all these doors. But yeah, that's more detail of how we met. I really calmed down eventually.
Anyway, guys, if you want some more details about the story, if you want a part 2 to this video that kind of talks about all the crazy stuff that went on during our 1 year of not being married, or during engagement, oh my word, engagement was a crazy time. We could tell you about some arguments that we had, some different controversy that we had just kind of in the family and different things like that, because that was a stressful time. But if you guys are interested in that video, go ahead and leave a comment about it. Maybe subscribe so that you're notified when we post. Huge thank you to all the patrons that you're seeing on the screen right now. We love and cherish every single one of them, and we love and cherish every single one of you. Thanks for watching this video.
And before anyone says anything about me being anxious, I'm very glad that God brought us together. I'm very glad that I married Sam. So no one make those ugly comments. So even like with us on YouTube, don't think for a second that we're perfect, or like someone said that like y'all's marriage is perfection or something. That is not true. The only thing that's perfect is the Lord. Mm-hmm. We are very, very imperfect people, so just
But anyway, guys, we love every single one of you, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.